Chapter 12. From General Population to Protective Custody. In the early months of my captivity, I fiercely rejected any suggestion of being taken to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation. The mere thought of using mental illness as a defense for my actions made me sick. I wasn't going to allow it to be said that there was validity to what Anna claimed, but there was an explanation. Despite Anna's accusations, I stood firm in declaring my complete innocence and victimhood. I refused to succumb to her manipulative tactics and never wavered in my claims of being mentally sound and guiltless. To even consider entertaining such an idea would be to admit defeat and give Anna exactly what she wanted, power over me. No, I would not allow her or the detectives who questioned me to strip me of my agency and reduce me to a mere pawn in their twisted game. I wrote in a letter to my lawyer that I did not have a dissociative disorder. I told him that I had not been trying to play a game with the detectives. With Anna's lies, they were the writers and directors of a sick game. My landlord, with a sinister smile on his face, had taken away all of my possessions, leaving me with nothing, as if I had never existed, never collected anything that I might want to keep forever. My precious memories, in the form of photographs and letters from those I loved, were now lost forever, buried under the weight of my shattered identity. Every cherished reminder of the life of joy and success was gone. I was left with nothing, no clothes, no mementos, no sense of self. It was as if my very being had been erased. Alone, abandoned, and scared. When I was in my cell, I would desperately try to catch the attention of the guards to be taken to see a nurse or doctor. But I was just another inmate in a sea of faces, drowning in my own extreme anxiety. Every moment felt like an overwhelming wave crashing over me, suffocating me with its intensity. The guards, cold and unfeeling as machines, would pass by our cells without a hint of empathy or compassion. In their eyes, I was nothing but a number, a nameless entity locked away in this hellish prison. They didn't see me as a person, let alone an innocent one who was suffering in distress. Their robotic footsteps echoed through the halls, sending chills down my spine. It was as if they were inhuman creatures, devoid of any shred of humanity. And trapped in this environment, my body began to react in strange ways. Panic attacks would grip me with such force that I thought I was going to die. My heart raced and my breaths came in short, labored gasps. I would frantically push the button in my cell, pleading for someone, anyone, to come and help me. But my cries fell on deaf ears. The guards saw me as nothing more than a nuisance, an inconvenience to be ignored and dismissed. My captivity was slowly breaking me down, piece by piece, but no one seemed to care about my suffering. To them, I was just another prisoner in a cell, forgotten and discarded by society, moving to protective custody. After 2 or 3 months, I was transferred to a different part of the jail called protective custody. I wasn't entirely clear why. There were 3 inmates who were not only in this area called protective custody, but they only left their cells for about an hour to shower and never when anyone else was out. They were going to testify against fellow gang members. During my stay in protective custody, I met an older man who was also being held there. He had been caught printing photographs of young children, possibly both boys and girls, in various stages of undress, perhaps even nude. The crime was heinous and unforgivable. I couldn't bring myself to feel any sympathy for him. What kind of person does this to innocent children? I was curious about the details of his crime, but I knew better than to ask him directly. Unlike me, he was not adamant and ready to explain how he would never harm anyone. I also crossed paths with a man whose intellect was severely lacking. He had strangled his wife or girlfriend to death. His parents were very supportive. He always had money in his canteen, and he would share something if I didn't have anything. His family kept his canteen stocked with cash, unlike the indifference offered by my family. I thought they would offer me a place to stay when I was released. Who knows if that was a good idea, but it never panned out. I remained in this section of the prison for several months until I was finally released in May 2003. The protective custody unit was smaller than the general population area, and most cells housed only one person, making it a safer environment. I also discovered new things about my gender and how we think of gender. I met a very effeminate person who went by the name Lulu. She was born male but identified as female. She was a striking African-American woman, born into a man's body. While I couldn't help but know that she must be male, it was her soft and feminine legs and face that caught my attention. In one particular moment, none of my prior beliefs about sexual orientation mattered. I just needed human contact, someone to be close to. And she was kind, so sweet and understanding as I sat next to her on a couch in the shared open area. As our hands touched, fingers intertwining and arms pressed together, I couldn't deny the comfort and connection that I felt. But this was no secret encounter. We were in plain view of anyone who happened to pass by. Despite the comfort she provided me in such an unbearable situation, there was no escaping the harsh reality of what was going on. Every second felt like an eternity, as my entire life hung in the balance, consumed by fear and desperation. Lulu may have been a small flicker of light amidst the darkness, but there was no changing the fact that I was trapped in this hellish place with no end in sight. My pleas for help to my family went unanswered, leaving me to wonder how long they would have left me here to rot. It became clear that they had no intention of coming to my aid. I was completely alone in this fight for survival. Toxic shame had been an outfit I began to wear 4 years ago. It began with losing Lynn, the love of my life, and continued as I lost my career, my license, and ultimately my home. Being alone in the world for so long only compounded this toxic shame, making me feel like I was fundamentally flawed. I felt like I had been turned into a creature deemed unworthy of basic human treatment. My situation was degrading and dehumanizing. I prayed without ceasing, still a believer back then. I repeated the plea to God. You know I did no wrong. Please do something. Show me something today. The fact that my sister sent me books was a source of support, but deep down parts of me wanted her to do more. Convince Mom and Dad to act like parents. I didn't even get visits from my family at all. No words of comfort. Never did I feel the sense that I had a family that was in any way concerned with my circumstances, nor did they seem to care about my chances for a normal life later. If they were not going to act out of concern for me, I knew that appearances mattered in my family. I carried the same exact name as my father. This name would now be emblazoned in stone for historical reference and associated with a heinous crime. They had acknowledged that I could not possibly have done what I was accused of doing. Despite that, their silence, their lack of support, could not help but make me feel worthless, a pathetic person who deserved to experience shame. I was not now, nor would I ever be in a position where I could forgive or forget the decision made by my parents not to pay bail, to get me out, and to pay for a good lawyer. This experience would always remain in my mind as something so shockingly painful that it would never be possible for me to excuse the inaction of my family. I spent 7 months in jail, 7 nightmarish months. I was released finally, in May, to await the trial. My lawyer got the bond or bail removed so that I could be released without having to pay anything, but with an expectation to return for trial and other court appearances. Of course, my so-called family had not even tried to get any clothes at all for me to wear when I got out. They had known that every single item of my own was gone, other than the bloody clothing I wore when I was assaulted 7 months earlier